I've been measuring time differently since Clara left. Not in days or weeks, but in the small deaths that punctuate each morning. The way I still roll over expecting her warmth. The phantom conversations I have while making coffee for two. The reflexive reach for my phone to share some mundane discovery before remembering there's no one waiting for my message. 42 days. That's how long it's been since she said, "I just need some space to figure things out, Julian." Her voice so calm it felt rehearsed. I should have known then that space was a euphemism for my brother's arms. The bookstore has become both sanctuary and prison. Today, dust motes dance in the afternoon light slanting through the windows, catching on the spines of poetry collections nobody buys. I arrange and rearrange them anyway, finding comfort in order when everything else feels fractured. "You're alphabetizing again," Naomi says, appearing beside me with two chipped mugs of tea. Her hair is twisted into a messy bun, strands escaping around her face like thoughts refusing containment. "Third time this week. That's concerning." I accept the tea without meeting her eyes. It's therapeutic. It's avoidance. She leans against the shelf, studying me with the familiarity of someone who's witnessed all your versions. "Have you written anything new?" "No." The word feels hollow in my mouth. Truth is, I haven't written a single line since Clara left. The words are there, a pressure behind my ribs, but releasing them would mean acknowledging what happened. And I'm not ready for that reality yet. After Naomi leaves for her afternoon yoga class, I lock up early and walk home along the lake. Vermont in early autumn is a postcard of itself. Crisp air, maple trees just beginning their slow burn from green to flame. Clara used to say this was her favorite time of year, how the world seemed most honest in its transition. My house sits back from the water, a small A-frame my grandfather built that always feels slightly bigger than necessary now. I'm halfway through the living room when I see it, a pale blue scarf draped over the back of my reading chair. Clara's. The one she always complained was too delicate to be practical, but wore anyway because her mother had given it to her. The fabric is cool between my fingers, impossibly soft. I lift it to my face before I can stop myself, and there it is. Her scent, faded but unmistakable. Lavender and something uniquely her, like fresh paper and rain. I stand there, unmoving, a man drowning in memory, until the phone rings and breaks the spell. It's my mother. "Julian, darling, we've been worried. You haven't been returning our calls." Her concern sounds genuine, which makes it worse somehow. I mumble something about being busy with inventory, while absently folding Clara's scarf into a neat square. "Well, you simply must come for dinner this Sunday. Your father's making his famous pot roast." There's an artificial brightness to her voice that immediately puts me on edge. Lucas will be there, and we have something to celebrate. "What's that?" I ask, distracted by the scarf in my hands, wondering if I should mail it to her parents' house or keep it as some pathetic talisman. "Oh." My mother's pause is theatrical. "I assumed you knew. Clara and Lucas are engaged. They're planning for next spring. Isn't it wonderful how things work out?" The world stops, tilts, restarts with a sickening lurch. "Julian? Are you there? How long?" The words scrape my throat raw. "How long what, dear? How long have they been together?" Another pause, this one genuine. "Well, they've been seeing each other for about 3 months now. But you know how these things are when they're meant to be. Everything just accelerates." 3 months. While Clara and I were still together. While she was sleeping in my bed, borrowing my sweaters, telling me she needed more time to think about marriage. "Julian, I know this must be a bit of a shock, but—" "Did you know?" I interrupt, my voice unnaturally calm. "Before they got together, did you encourage it?" The silence that follows is answer enough. "I have to go, Mom." I hang up before she can respond and sink to the floor, Clara's scarf clutched in my fist. The betrayal is physical, a blade between my ribs, twisting with each breath. My parents had always favored Lucas, the successful lawyer, the practical son who followed the path they'd laid out. But this, orchestrating the woman I loved into his arms, the calculation of it staggers me. Later that night, Lucas calls. His voice has that polished quality it takes on when he's uncomfortable, smooth and slightly too loud, like he's performing normalcy. "Mom said she talked to you," he begins without preamble. "Look, Julian, I know the timing is not ideal." I laugh, a hollow sound that scrapes my throat. Not ideal? That's what we're calling it? Things happened organically, okay? Clara and I connected when she was already questioning your relationship. I didn't steal anything that wasn't already leaving. The practiced nature of this speech tells me he's rehearsed it, probably with our mother's coaching. I wonder if they workshopped different versions, testing them for maximum rationalization. "The engagement dinner is next Friday at the lakeside," he continues when I say nothing. "I'm extending the courtesy of an invitation, though I understand if you'd rather not attend." Courtesy. As if his benevolence extends to allowing me to witness their happiness. "I'll check my calendar," I say flatly, then hang up. I don't sleep that night. Instead, I sit on my porch overlooking the lake, watching moonlight fracture across the water. I think about the years Clara and I spent together, the quiet mornings reading side by side, the way she'd leave notes in the margins of books, her laugh that seemed to start in her eyes before reaching her mouth. Had she been unhappy, or just uncertain? And how much of that uncertainty had been planted by my family's subtle disapproval? By morning, something shifts inside me, not healing exactly, but a flicker of defiance. I call Naomi. "I need your help," I tell her when she answers, voice groggy with sleep. "I'm having a party." "A party," she repeats skeptically. "You, who considers more than 3 people in your house a crowd?" "It's my birthday next weekend, the same night as Lucas and Clara's engagement dinner." Understanding dawns in her voice. "Ah, counter-programming." "Something like that." I watch a heron land on the dock, its reflection a perfect mirror. I'm tired of disappearing, Naomi, of being the brother who fades into background noise. "About damn time," she says, and I can hear her smile through the phone. "What do you need me to do?" We spend the morning planning what Naomi insists on calling my resurrection party. Nothing elaborate, just close friends, good wine, maybe a reading. The kind of gathering I would have enjoyed before grief made me a stranger to myself. Later that afternoon, the bell above the bookstore door chimes. I look up from my inventory sheet to find a man I don't recognize browsing the poetry section. Tall, with dark curls and wire-rimmed glasses. He catches my gaze and smiles slightly before returning to the book in his hands. "Anything I can help you find?" I ask, more out of obligation than interest. He holds up a collection of Rilke. "Just this. I've been looking for a decent translation." "That's a good one." Mitchell captures the original German better than most. His smile widens. "You speak German?" "Poorly, but enough to know when the essence is preserved." I move to the register, surprised to find myself engaging. "New to town?" "Relatively. I'm Micah, moved here 2 months ago for the teaching position at Lakeview College." "Julian," I reply, ringing up his purchase. "The owner of this glorified storage unit for words nobody reads anymore." Micah laughs, the sound unexpectedly warm. "On the contrary, your selection is thoughtfully curated, especially the poetry. Very personal choices." Something about his observation makes me pause. Most of the poetry was my grandfather's collection. I inherited it with the building. "Still," he says, accepting the paper bag I hand him, It says something that you've kept it, even expanded it. He glances at the small display of contemporary poets near the register. This Naomi Wells anthology is brilliant, by the way. You should read it if you haven't. I have, I say, surprised again. Naomi's actually my friend, co-owner technically. She handles the new acquisitions. Well, she has excellent taste. He tucks the book under his arm. I should get going. Classes to prepare for. Thanks for the recommendation, Julian. After he leaves, I find myself standing at the window, watching him walk down the street. There was something disarming about his presence, something genuine in a way that made my carefully constructed numbness feel suddenly flimsy. That evening, I sit at my desk and address invitations to my birthday gathering. Nothing formal, just handwritten notes on the simple cardstock we use for bookstore announcements. I include Lucas and Clara's names almost without thinking, part of me hoping they'll decline. Another part, the part I'm less proud of, wanting them to see that I haven't crumbled completely. When I finish, I stare at the small stack of envelopes. They represent something more than a party, a reclamation, perhaps, or at least the beginning of one. I seal the last invitation, addressed to Micah, whose last name I had to look up in the credit card system, and feel something unexpected stir in my chest. Not hope, exactly, but its quiet, tentative cousin, possibility. Tomorrow, I'll mail these invitations and step back into the world I've been avoiding. But tonight, I sit on my porch with a pen and notebook, watching the stars emerge above the lake. And for the first time in 42 days, I write. The day of my birthday arrives with a particular quality of light, sharp and golden, cutting through the morning fog that rises from the lake like spirits reluctant to leave. I stand at my kitchen window, coffee cooling between my palms, watching the water shift from silver to blue as the mist burns away. In a few hours, my house will fill with people, with voices and expectations I'm not sure I'm ready to face. My phone buzzes on the counter, a text from Naomi. On my way with supplies. You better be showered and wearing something that doesn't scream abandoned poet. I smile despite myself. Naomi knows me too well, knows I've been considering canceling this whole affair, retreating back into the comfortable numbness I've cultivated. But it's too late now. The invitations are sent. Responses received. Even Lucas and Clara confirmed they'd come, arriving fashionably late after making an appearance at their own engagement dinner. The thought of seeing them together sends a cold spike through my chest. What was I thinking, inviting them here? Some misguided attempt at proving I'm fine? Or something darker? A desire to make them uncomfortable, to force them to witness the damage they've done? I'm still pondering this when Naomi arrives, arms laden with paper bags and determination in her eyes. You look like hell, she announces, brushing past me into the kitchen. But salvageable hell. She begins unpacking wine bottles, cheese, clusters of deep purple grapes still on the vine. There's something steadying about her efficiency, the way she claims space without apology. I'm having second thoughts, I admit, leaning against the counter. Of course you are. She doesn't look up from arranging crackers on a wooden board. That's why I'm here, to prevent you from doing what you always do. Which is, retreat. Observe rather than participate. Choose silence over messiness. She finally meets my eyes. Julian, you've been a ghost in your own life since Clara left. Since before that, really. Her words land with uncomfortable precision. I've always preferred to live at the edges, of conversations, of emotions, of conflict. It's safer there, less chance of disappointment or rejection. But look where it's gotten me, standing in my kitchen, dreading a party I planned myself, while the woman I loved prepares to marry my brother. I brought you something, Naomi says, reaching into her bag. She pulls out a small wrapped package. Happy birthday, by the way. I unwrap it carefully. Inside is a leather-bound journal, the cover embossed with a simple tree design. Opening it reveals cream-colored pages, thick and waiting. It's time to start writing again, she says softly. Not just about Clara or what happened, about everything. The world hasn't stopped, Julian, even if you have. I trace my fingers over the empty pages, feeling something crack open inside me. Painful but necessary, like setting a broken bone. Thank you. She squeezes my shoulder. Now go make yourself presentable. People will be here in an hour. By 7, my living room glows with candlelight and murmured conversation. Old friends from college mingle with neighbors, and a few regulars from the bookstore. My parents arrived early, my mother bringing a cake that's too elaborate for the occasion, my father awkwardly patting my back before retreating to examine my bookshelves as if they've changed since his last visit. I move through the space like a curator, refilling glasses, nodding at appropriate moments in conversations I'm not really following. Part of me is constantly oriented toward the door, waiting for them to arrive. Another part watches for Micah, who accepted my invitation with a warm note but hasn't appeared yet. Julian. My mother corners me by the record player, where I've been flipping through vinyl without really seeing the covers. This is lovely, but don't you think it's a bit pointed? Having your party the same night as their dinner? I select an old Nina Simone album, carefully sliding it from its sleeve. It's my actual birthday, Mom. I didn't schedule it out of spite. Still. She smooths invisible wrinkles from her silk blouse. Lucas and Clara both feel terrible about the timing. They're trying to do the right thing by coming here afterward. I place the needle on the record, letting Nina's smoky voice fill the silence between us. The right thing would have been not to sleep with my girlfriend while we were still together, but I suppose we all have different moral compasses. My mother's face tightens. That's not fair, Julian. Clara was unhappy for a long time. You must have sensed it. What I sensed was my family undermining my relationship at every opportunity. The words come out sharper than I intended, but I don't retract them. How many times did you tell Clara she was wasting her potential with me? How many times did you invite Lucas along to what should have been our dinners? We only wanted what was best for everyone. Her voice drops to a whisper. Julian, you're a dreamer. Always have been. Clara needed stability, structure, things you were never interested in providing. Before I can respond, the front door opens. Lucas and Clara stand framed in the doorway, a picture-perfect couple caught in suspended animation. The room doesn't exactly fall silent, but there's a perceptible shift. Conversations pausing mid-sentence, glasses halting halfway to lips. Clara looks beautiful in a way that hurts physically. Her dark hair is swept up, revealing the gentle curve of her neck where I used to press my lips. She's wearing a deep blue dress I've never seen before, the color making her pale skin luminous in the low light. Lucas has his hand at the small of her back, proprietary and proud. I feel rather than see Naomi move to stand beside me, a quiet show of solidarity. Happy birthday, big brother, Lucas says, crossing the room with Clara in tow. He hugs me stiffly, his expensive cologne overwhelming. When he pulls back, his smile doesn't reach his eyes. Sorry we're late. Dinner ran long. Thanks for coming, I manage, focusing on a point just past his shoulder. Clara steps forward, her composure faltering slightly. Happy birthday, Julian. When she leans in to kiss my cheek, time compresses. For one breath, one heartbeat, we're back in our shared history. All the mornings, all the nights, all the quiet conversations that built a life I thought was unshakable. Then she steps back, and we're strangers again. There's wine in the kitchen, I say to both of them, to neither of them. And food. Help yourselves. As they move away, Naomi squeezes my arm. You okay? I'm saved from answering by another arrival. Micah steps through the door, snow dusting his dark curls, cheeks flushed from the cold. He's carrying a small package wrapped in brown paper and tied with twine. Our eyes meet across the room, and he smiles, a genuine smile that somehow cuts through the emotional interference filling the space. I brought reinforcements, Naomi whispers, nodding toward Micah. Invited him specially. He seems interesting. You're incorrigible, I mutter, but find myself moving toward the door, welcoming the distraction. Sorry I'm late, Micah says when I reach him. Got caught in an impromptu faculty meeting that wouldn't end. He hands me the package. Happy birthday. I unwrap it to find a first edition Rilke, not the one he bought at the store, but an older collection, its spine cracked with use. Opening it reveals marginal notes in a language I don't recognize, the ink faded to sepia. It was my grandfather's, Micah explains. He used to say Rilke understood solitude better than anyone, not as absence, but as presence. A room you choose to enter rather than a door locked against you. He looks momentarily embarrassed. Sorry if that's too much. I tend to get philosophical about books. No, it's... I search for words adequate to express what this gesture means, this perfect, thoughtful gift from someone who barely knows me. Thank you. I'll treasure it. The evening progresses in a blur of wine and shifting conversations. I move through my own party like a ghost, hyper-aware of Clara's position in the room at all times. She and Lucas circulate separately, him charming my friends with practiced ease, her standing slightly apart, watching everything with those quiet, observant eyes I once loved so deeply. At some point, my father corners me by the bookshelves, drink in hand. Good turnout, he says awkwardly. Your mother's pleased. I nod, unsure what he wants from me. Julian, he clears his throat. I know things have been difficult with Clara and Lucas. Your mother can be determined when she gets an idea in her head. An idea like Clara being better suited for Lucas than for me? He sighs, looking suddenly older in the half-light. It wasn't personal, son. It was entirely personal, Dad. It was my life. Your mother sees things, practically. Clara had ambitions. You seemed content with... He gestures vaguely at the house, the books. With building a life I actually wanted instead of one that looked good at country club dinners? The bitterness in my voice surprises even me. My father stares into his glass. You've always been the stronger one, Julian, even as boys. Lucas needs reinforcement, validation. He meets my eyes briefly. We thought you'd be okay. The naked admission leaves me speechless. Before I can respond, Naomi calls for everyone's attention. She's standing by the fireplace, wine glass raised. Our birthday boy has been hiding his light for too long, she announces, eyes finding mine across the room. Julian's agreed to read something he's been working on. I haven't agreed to any such thing, but she's already extending my new journal toward me, open to the pages I filled last night. For a moment, I consider refusing. The words there are raw, unfiltered, never meant for an audience. But something in Naomi's face challenges me, and suddenly, I'm tired of hiding. The room quiets as I take my place by the fire. I don't look at Clara or Lucas or my parents. Instead, I focus on the flame, the way it bends and stretches toward some invisible current. This is called the hollow echo, I say quietly, then begin to read. The poem flows from me, words I wrote in darkness now illuminated by firelight. It speaks of loss, not as something taken, but as a space suddenly emptied, the negative shape of love, defined by absence. It speaks of betrayal without naming names, of the peculiar grief of seeing what was yours reflected in someone else's possession. And finally, it speaks of survival. Not as triumph, but as quiet defiance, the simple act of continuing. When I finish, the silence stretches like a held breath. I look up to find every face turned toward me, expressions ranging from shock to pity to something harder to define. My mother looks stricken. Lucas stares at the floor. And Clara looks directly at me, tears tracking silently down her cheeks. "Thank you," I say simply, closing the journal. The party fractures after that, conversations resuming with a brittle quality. I escape to the kitchen, needing a moment alone, only to find Clara already there, staring out the window at the moonlit lake. "That was beautiful," she says without turning. "Your poem." I remain by the door, maintaining distance. It wasn't meant to hurt anyone. "I know." She faces me then, her eyes red-rimmed. "It hurt anyway." We stand in silence, the sounds of the party muffled by the closed door. All the questions I've wanted to ask crowd my throat, but in her presence, they seem suddenly unimportant. What would answers change? "Are you happy?" I ask finally, the only question that matters. Clara's laugh is soft and broken. "I thought I knew what I wanted, what happiness would look like." She traces a pattern on the counter with her fingertip. "Your parents made it sound so logical, so right." Lucas was moving up in his firm, planning to run for state office eventually. And I was. She looks at me directly. "I was scared, Julian, of the smallness you seemed content with, of waking up 10 years from now, still in this town, still selling books to the same people. You never told me you felt that way. Would it have changed anything? Would you have suddenly wanted the things I was told I should want?" The honesty of her question disarms me. "No," I admit. "Probably not." She nods, unsurprised. "That's the difference between you and Lucas. He bends. You break before you bend." She wipes at her cheeks. "I didn't mean to hurt you. I just got swept up in a version of my life that everyone else seemed to think was better." Before I can respond, the kitchen door opens. Lucas stands there, eyes narrowing as he takes in our proximity, the intimate quality of our posture. "There you are," he says to Clara, voice carefully neutral. "People are starting to leave. We should say our goodbyes." Clara hesitates, looking at me as if there's something more she wants to say. Then she nods, moving toward Lucas. "Happy birthday, Julian," she says softly, passing me on her way out. I'm left alone in the kitchen, feelings too complex to name swirling in my chest. Not closure, exactly. But something has shifted, some tightly held truth finally acknowledged. The back door opens, startling me. Micah steps in from the porch, snowflakes clinging to his coat. "Sorry," he says. "Needed some air. Didn't mean to intrude." "You're not," I assure him, strangely glad for his presence. "I was just processing." He nods, as if he understands completely. It's a peculiar kind of courage, saying your truth out loud like that, with your poem. He leans against the counter where Clara stood moments before. Most people spend their whole lives avoiding that kind of vulnerability. Something about his words unlocks a tension I've been carrying since the party began. I'm not sure it was courage so much as desperation. Same thing, sometimes. He smiles slightly. The desperate need to be seen as you actually are. We stand in companionable silence, the distant sounds of the party winding down, filtering through the walls. There's something calming about Micah's presence, something that doesn't demand response or performance. "Want to escape?" he asks suddenly. "It's your party, but..." He glances toward the living room. "It seems like you could use a break from all the..." He gestures vaguely. "Emotional landmines?" I supply. "Exactly." I find myself nodding. There's a path down to the dock. It's probably covered in snow, but lead the way. We slip out the back door, into the crystalline night. The snow has stopped, leaving the world blanketed in perfect white, moonlight turning everything to silver and shadow. The path to the lake is indeed covered, but we navigate it carefully, our breath clouding before us. The dock extends 20 feet into the water, dark planks dusted with snow. We stand at its edge, looking out over the frozen expanse, mountains rising black against the star-scattered sky. Everything is silent except for the occasional crack of ice shifting beneath the surface. I used to come here as a child, I find myself saying, when things got too loud at home, too expected. I brush snow from the railing. There's something about water at night, how it holds everything without judgment. Micah nods, looking out over the darkness. I understand the appeal of that, being witnessed without being assessed. We stand in silence for a long moment, the cold seeping through my inadequate layers, but I don't want to go back inside yet, back to the warmth and light and complicated human emotions waiting there. Your family, Micah says carefully. They love you, but they don't see you. The simple accuracy of his observation takes my breath away. No, I agree. They never have. That's the hardest kind of loneliness, he says, voice soft. Being unseen by the people who should know you best. Our eyes meet in the darkness, and something passes between us. A recognition, perhaps. Understanding without the need for detailed histories or explanations. From the house, we hear raised voices. I turn to see silhouettes in the kitchen window, Naomi and my mother, gesturing animatedly. I nod toward the house. Micah touches my arm lightly. Julian? His eyes are serious in the moonlight. Whatever happens in there, remember what you wrote, about survival as defiance. He smiles slightly. Some victories are quiet ones. We walk back toward the house, our footsteps leaving parallel tracks in the pristine snow. The raised voices grow clearer as we approach, Naomi's sharp with protective anger, my mother's tight with defensive pride. Before we reach the door, Micah pauses. Thank you for inviting me tonight. He looks at me directly. And Julian? Happy birthday. May this year bring you closer to your own voice. As I watch him disappear around the side of the house toward his car, the kitchen door bursts open. Lucas emerges, face tight with suppressed emotion. We're leaving, he announces when he sees me. Your friend Naomi just told Mom exactly what she thinks of our family values. His mouth twists bitterly. Quite the birthday celebration you've orchestrated. I didn't orchestrate anything, I say wearily. Except perhaps the chance to finally speak honestly. He studies me for a long moment, something like realization dawning in his eyes. You've changed. No, I correct him. I'm finally becoming who I always was. There's a difference. Thunder rumbles in the distance, a storm moving across the lake toward us. Lucas glances at the clouding sky, then back at me. Clara's confused right now, he says, lowering his voice. Tonight brought up a lot of nostalgia. But she made her choice, Julian. We both did. I look at my brother, really look at him, and see something I've never noticed before. Fear. Beneath his polished exterior and practiced confidence, Lucas is afraid. Of losing, perhaps. Of being the lesser son, the lesser choice. I hope you'll both be happy, I say, meaning it more than I expected to. Truly. He searches my face for insincerity, finding none. After a moment, he nods stiffly and walks past me toward the front of the house where Clara waits in their car. I remain on the back porch, watching the storm approach, lightning illuminating the clouds from within like thoughts made visible. When the first fat droplets of rain begin to fall, I turn toward the house, toward the voices and warmth within. Through the window, I see Naomi standing her ground against my mother's tear-streaked face, my father mediating ineffectually between them. But instead of going inside, I walk to the side of the house and look down the driveway. There, standing beside his car in the gathering storm, is Micah, face turned up to the darkening sky. He hasn't left yet. The rain begins to fall in earnest, soaking through my shirt, plastering my hair to my forehead. But I don't move. I stand watching Micah, feeling something unfurl inside me. Not hope exactly, but its quiet precursor. Possibility. Lightning splits the sky, illuminating everything in harsh, brilliant clarity for one suspended moment. And in that flash of light, I see the path forward, not around my pain or past it, but through it. One quiet, defiant step at a time. I wake to rain tapping against my window, a gentle percussion that matches the slow rhythm of my breath. Yesterday's party lingers in the air like perfume, memories of confrontations, confessions, connections hanging in the stillness of morning. The house is empty now, guests long gone, leaving only traces, wine glasses with lipstick smudges, napkins crumpled like discarded feelings, Micah's Rilke placed carefully on my bedside table. I trace the worn spine with my fingertips, feeling something settle inside me. Not peace, exactly, but its quieter cousin. Acceptance. Outside, the lake mirrors a sky heavy with leftover storm clouds. I wrap myself in a cardigan and walk down to the dock, journal in hand. The wood is damp beneath me as I sit, legs dangling over the edge and open to a blank page. "You're allowed to begin again," I whisper to myself, the words becoming real as they leave my mouth. I write a poem, not about Clara or Lucas or betrayal, but about the particular quality of morning light after rain. When I finish, I tear it carefully from the journal. This poem was never meant for keeping, only for releasing. I fold it into a paper boat, just as my grandfather taught me decades ago. The creases are precise, muscle memory guiding my fingers. When it's done, I set it on the water's surface and watch it drift away, a small vessel carrying yesterday's grief toward some distant shore. Naomi finds me there an hour later, bearing coffee and fresh bread, her presence warm against the autumn chill. "Quite a night," she says, settling beside me. "Thank you," I tell her, "for everything." She bumps her shoulder against mine. "Your mother called this morning. She was—" Naomi chooses her words carefully. "Reflective. Said some things needed saying for a long time." I nod, unsurprised. My mother's defenses have always been strongest when protecting what she thought was best for everyone. Perhaps now she's beginning to see the difference between best and true. As the morning warms, I walk back to the house to find an envelope slipped under my door, cream-colored paper addressed in Clara's unmistakable handwriting. Inside is a single page. "Julian, last night I heard your truth. Now here's mine. I confuse safety for happiness, admiration for love. What Lucas and I have is real, but built partly from fear. My fear of smallness, his fear of being second. I don't regret loving you. I regret not being brave enough to love you better." See. I fold the letter carefully and place it in the Rilke book, between pages marked with Micah's grandfather's notes. Not to keep as a talisman, but to acknowledge its place in my story. A chapter ended, not erased. When my phone rings, it's Micah. "I'm at the bakery near your store," he says without preamble. "They make incredible cinnamon rolls on Sundays. Would you like to join me? No pressure, just—" He pauses. "Just breakfast." I look around my quiet house, at the remnants of yesterday, at Clara's letter, at the empty page waiting in my journal. "I'd like that," I say, surprising myself with the simplicity of truth. An hour later, we sit across from each other, sunlight catching in the steam rising from our coffee. Micah talks about poetry, about teaching, about the peculiar beauty of small towns in autumn. I find myself listening actively, present in a way I haven't been for months. I should open the store, I say eventually, reluctant to end our conversation. I could walk with you, he offers, if you'd like company. We stroll through town, morning light gilding everything with possibility. Micah's hand brushes against mine, not claiming, just acknowledging presence. I don't pull away. At the bookstore, I unlock the door, breathing in the familiar scent of paper and possibility. Sunlight slants through dust motes, illuminating spines of books waiting to be discovered. I move through the space, touching covers, straightening displays, feeling at home in my own life for the first time in months. Naomi arrives later, eyebrow raised at finding Micah browsing the poetry section. She squeezes my arm as she passes, her smile knowing but kind. That evening, I sit on my porch watching the sunset paint the lake in impossible colors. My phone remains silent, no calls from my parents, from Lucas, from Clara. But the silence doesn't feel empty anymore. It feels like space clearing for whatever comes next. I open my journal and begin to write, words flowing easily now, not about what was lost, but about what remains, what begins. The first line forms clearly, a truth simple and profound. Today, I begin. Thank you for staying with Julian's story until the end. We share these stories because we know how it feels to be unseen, to have your heart broken by the people who should protect it most. Every like, comment, and subscription helps us continue bringing these deeply human experiences to light, because healing starts when we know we're not alone in our darkest moments. We do this for you, because your stories matter too.